makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best.
Okay, so this is the last match that went on here. And this is one of the more bizarre matches that we're going to cover. It's a 3 out of 5 falls, 8-man tag match. Right? 3 out of 5 falls, 8-man tag match between Andre the Giant, Tito Santana, Ivan Putski, Dominic DeNucci, all three Valiant brothers, and Lou Albano. And DeNucci is the only man on this particular show that hasn't received a bio from us. And Kelly, I believe you have some DeNucci detail.
Yeah, I do. I love doing these bios now because these are wrestlers I would never think to ever research. And, like Steve Travis and Baron Scaluna and Fred Curry and now DeNucci. But
Kelly, have you noticed a theme of the types of guys I give you to research?
I know you give me the job to start, but that's fine. That's
you should get an observer vote in the Hall of Fame. You can, do Fred Curry bios.
Yeah, I should start doing some pimping for these guys on PWO. But I know it's fun because you get like interesting bits on all of them that you would never know. And so anyways, I'll start with he was born in Italy, Venice. In Wikipedia says 1932. Cage Match, the Cage Match website says 1936, and I'm kind of more inclined to go with that date. So anyways, he was born and raised in Italy, but came to Montreal in 1955. And Montreal has a very sizable Italian community. And I'm thinking it was a family connection that got him to Montreal. And anyway, he started going to a gym where he fell in with wrestlers. And that's sort of how it was back in those days for a lot of guys. You earned the trust of some wrestlers. And Montreal, of course, was a big wrestling town, a big wrestling city. And they took him under his wing, and he trained for a bit. And in the early 60s, he started wrestling. And his first gig was in Montreal under a mask as the heel Masked Marvel. And as far as I can tell, this was the only time he played heel his whole career, was his debut in Montreal. Eventually, he wound up in Detroit, which was close to Montreal, and he teamed with the original Dino Bravo, who until this morning I was completely unaware there was an original Dino Bravo. Apparently, there's not a lot of info on him. No Wikipedia page.
He died via gunshot, a gang-related thing.
No. Well, maybe he did. Because I don't know. All I know is his career ended in 1965. After that, he dropped off the face of the earth. But anyways, Dominic was Dominic Bravo, and they were the Bravo brothers. And this is a pattern for DeNucci's career. He was a tag team specialist, totally. One tag team after the next. So he was. This was in Detroit, early '60s. He was the master of the airplane spin. That's something. At least he was the master of it. I mean, it's not a great move, but
I would like to debate that claim.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
The Mike Rotundo fan.
Okay. Dominic was the first master, and then I guess Mike Rotundo surpassed him eventually. But anyway,
Perez did a pretty mean one too.
Perez.
Yeah. So DeNucci, you picture him, or at least I do, as being in New York, forever, and he was. He started there in 1967, but he was also well-traveled. He went all over the place and won titles, held straps everywhere he went. San Francisco, he was the U.S. champ, which was a big deal. That was Ray Stevens' title. So he won the title from him there. He was in Florida. Now, most of these were tag team runs. Florida, he held the tag titles in Florida in 75 with Tony Parisi, or better known as Antonio Pugliese, or Pugliese. I'm not sure how to say that. But for some reason, he changed his name randomly in 1970, even though he had worked in New York before and didn't change his character at all. But anyway, Parisi was DeNucci's tag partner several times in several different territories. Montreal, Vancouver, the lost, forgotten Vancouver territory. He was a tag champ with Don Leo Jonathan in 1966. NWF, Buffalo, Cleveland. He was actually the champ there, the world champ or whatever their title was. And two-time tag champ with Parisi in 72 in Buffalo, Cleveland. He was a big star in Australia, which in the 60s was a pretty big deal. Super hot territory. Three-time champ in Australia. And I did a bit of research on the Australian world title or their top title. And what was it? Oh, yeah. They changed hands 51 times between 1964 and 1970. And 24 different guys held the Australian title. So it's kind of like the Memphis strap or the USWA.
Is that WCW territory that Jim Barnett was involved with?
Yes. Yeah. It was known as World. It was World Championship Wrestling. Their title was actually called the IWA World Championship, and not to be confused with the IWA of the 1970s. This was a totally different IWA.
So DeNucci, the former world champion, then.
Three times.
Three-time former world champ.
Yeah.
Okay.
First time he beat Killer Kowalski in 65. And then he beat Ray Stevens in 66. And then Kowalski again in, I think, 66 as well.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then he also did Indianapolis, the Dick the Bruiser's territory. Tag champ with Wilbur Snyder, a name that's come up in the Hall of Fame thread recently on PWO. A guy I really don't know much about, but I know he was considered a potential Hall of Famer anyway. And then, of course, in New York, two tag champ reigns. First in 1975, beginning the reign with Victor Rivera. But halfway through the reign, Rivera split the territory, and Pat Barrett was brought in to replace Rivera and was just substituted as the tag champion. And they beat the Valiant Brothers, who had, or Rivera and DeNucci beat the Valiant Brothers, who had a year-long reign. And DeNucci and Barrett lost to the Blackjacks. And this was in 75. And then lastly, in 78, he teamed with the second Dino Bravo, ironically.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, 16, 17 years later, to have another WWF tag run. They beat Mr. Fuji and Toru Tanaka in 1978, and then lost to the Yukon Lumberjacks June 78. So this was just about a year before our set starts.
So
I got a few more things. Sorry if I'm taking up too much.
There can never be enough Dominic DeNucci information.
Yeah, I kind of fell in love with Dominic DeNucci this morning or just his story.
Are you going to be pushing his Hall of Fame case soon, Kelly?
I mean, he had the longevity, but as we know, longevity doesn't hold much weight at PWO. So, Sting and all that. So anyway, DeNucci. Yeah. Here's a great thing that ties in with the bio I did last episode for Baron Cicluna. He wrestled Baron Cicluna probably 750 times or more in his career. I don't know, a lot. There was a thread on another site, another message board, I think Sports and Wrestling, that talked about how they wrestled forever. And as early as 1961, when Baron Cicluna was Mike Valentino and Dominic was Dominic Bravo in Buffalo, they wrestled. In 1961, they wrestled for the last time, 21 years later, March 17th, 1982, at the St. Stanislaus American Legion Hall number 1771 in Brooklyn for WWF. So, yeah, it was a 21-year war.
Can you imagine a comp of DeNucci versus Baron Cicluna?
Oh, God.
It'd be right next to my Jimmy Snuka Metal Maniac comp.
So yeah, I had to bring that up because apparently that was one of the great, as far as wrestlers who wrestled each other the most amount of times in their careers. They're up there with like Bobo Brazil and the Sheik and some others. And then so DeNucci still wrestled. He wrestled last year. in
What, in 2012?
in Toronto. Yeah, in a tag with Shane Douglas. Oh yeah, right. I should mention he's probably most famous with modern fans as being a trainer, right? He trained Mick Foley, trained Shane Douglas, Brian Hildebrand. And so, yeah, last year in Toronto, April 14th, he tagged with Shane Douglas and defeated Lord Zoltan and Sean Blanchard. His last singles match was in 2009, and in 2005, Parv, he wrestled a Russian chain match against Ivan Koloff in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
And he was like 70 years old then.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that was the best part.
So is he planning to take on Dory Funk Jr. soon? I know.
God, yeah.
I know
Or
Dory's still
Abdullah.
wrestling, right? 80 years old.
Yeah, Dory's in his early 70s. Well,
did
Paul
that
McCartney just put out a new single, and he's 71, so anything can happen, babe.
Did that match with Koloff make tape?
I hope it did.
Yeah,
It was
I
on a
want to see that.
Wrestle reunion show, and it was like a bunch of VCW guys. I had the card up earlier. I don't know. August 27th, 2005.
That might be the missing piece of my Ivan Koloff for the Hall of Fame argument, right? If I can find Ivan versus DeNucci, 2005, it might swing it. It might swing it for Snowden.
So I think that's it, guys. Just there was some real funny things in there. You know.
Well, yeah, round of applause for Kelly.